Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Bill and Bob. Now, for everyone watching on Ustream currently, you may notice that Bill's not here. He has to take care of some stuff, so I will be doing this on my own today. Alright, so our first topic for today will be the NCAA tournament. So, it's March Madness, it has to be talked about, unfortunately. But, so yeah, the NCAA tournament is underway. Tomorrow will be today will be the start of the Sweet 16. Now, they call it March Madness for a reason, that's obvious, but this season has been an example of why they call it such. Teams like Villanova, Virginia, these teams were expected to, go far in the tournament. Obviously, the 1 and the 2 seed in the East region, and they have not. They're gone. That's it already. So a lot of the big dogs are gone. And that's just in the second round. If you look at the first round, for example, Georgia State came out of nowhere, absolutely out of nowhere, and beat Baylor. A lot of people were saying that UCLA shouldn't have even been in the tournament, and yet they end up making it to the Sweet 16. Granted, they had a little bit of an easy road. They didn't exactly play the best teams, but because obviously with Alabama, Birmingham in the same region, that was another huge upset, by the way. University of Alabama, Birmingham beating Iowa State. And just like everyone else, I filled out my bracket, and I'll be the first one to tell you, college basketball is that's not exactly my forte. And me, I had Iowa State making it to the Sweet 16, and well, they couldn't get out of the first round. So yeah, that shows you really how much I know. I'm in other things, but I know a little bit, and apparently I was wrong, just like the rest of the country. Usually every year there's a 5 to 12 upset, and from the looks of things, it didn't seem like there wasn't any of that this year. Me, I picked Buffalo to beat West Virginia, and I also picked Stephen F. Austin to beat Utah, and then I realized now that was a huge mistake. And so this Sweet 16 is really shaping up to be exciting. Although the matchup between North Carolina State and Louisville, that matchup right there, that's not really that kind of lacks the luster that it would have been Villanova Louisville, the 1 versus the 4 rather than the 8 versus the 4. You just can't expect these upsets, during March Madness, and that's just naturally the way it is. I also had Davidson beating Iowa in the first round, and that obviously didn't work out. It's March Madness. So, my bracket is, really, it's just been screwed up completely. And, yeah. So now there's not really a whole lot to talk about, it's going underway, March Madness or whatever. So I'm gonna switch here the topic to the National Football League. Now, I understand that it's the off season currently, and it's the NFL. You expect them to always be in the headlines no matter what. And first thing we're going to talk about, I know it's a little late, but we had spring break and everything. First thing we're going to talk about is the whole situation going on with former San Francisco 49ers linebacker Chris Borland. Now, as you may know, if you're a fan of football or the NFL or whatever, Chris Borland was only 24 years old when he announced his retirement, just a week after 49ers linebacker Patrick Willis announced his retirement. Now, here's the thing, Patrick Willis, for example, Patrick Willis is 30 years old, and while that's still not that old, you might expect, a player like Willis, who's a linebacker, one of the best hitters that the NFL's seen in a long time, to have those concerns with his health. And it wasn't even concussion-based, it was because of a foot injury. Chris Borland, however, is only 24, and he was in the prime of his career, if you'd call it that. And he just decided out of the blue to retire. And this raises a lot of concerns. The NFL has obviously been concerned with this whole concussion thing, and it's been going on for years now. And this situation really doesn't help, to combat this. It doesn't give the NFL a good image. The NFL's image is starting to become a little tainted now, and this isn't one of the, things that's helping them right now. And a lot of people are saying, it's a great decision for him to do. I agree, but I don't think this. People are also saying that, this might be something that future players will do. They're gonna fear for the future of the health of their head, concussions and so forth, and with the way they think, and the whole all the issues that come with concussion based things. And I have a feeling, and people should have a feeling that this is not going to be the norm. The NFL, just like professional sports in general, for a lot of players, is a way out necessarily, and these players know that they either have to make it, they make it, or if they don't, then there's pretty much no other way to go. Obviously I don't know Chris Borland's situation, economically, or his family life or whatever, but I could assume, actually Stephen A. Smith said this on First Take, and I actually agree with him, that there's a chance that Chris Borland could be the type of person who grew up in I don't want to say privileged, because I don't know, but he grew up in a family that was well to do, and they were able to economically support him, and football wasn't really a way out for him necessarily. It was just something that he enjoyed to do. And because of that, it was a lot easier for him to make this decision. Because there are a lot of players who they come out of the inner city and these lower income areas and neighborhoods, and the NFL is the only way out, and they make sure that they keep, like, if they make it to the top, for example, they got to make sure that they stay there. They're not going to risk the economic opportunities. They don't mind risking their health for economic opportunities, not only for themselves but for their families. So this is not really going to be a thing of the future where NFL players are going to retire in the prime of their careers. People still to this day don't know why Barry Sanders retired so early, and Patrick Willis, when he was in the league, he was a feared defender, and he's going to be like a Patrick Willis type. He was one of the best of his time, and he's really one of the better players that the 49ers have really ever had, especially on defense. And so his retirement was really what, started this whole thing. And then all of a sudden you had Chris Borland retiring at 24. Like I said before, that just threw everyone off. You usually don't see that. Usually you might see that out of running backs, because even though linebacking, put it like this, every position in football is demanding physically. And running back is probably the most physically demanding sport, because you're constantly running, you're constantly getting hit, and linebacker is really, I'm not gonna say a close second. I don't know what a close second would be, but it's up there. And I completely understand Chris Borland's decision to retire early. Although some people are one, and also another thing I forgot to mention. One thing he did do, however, that just proves as an example as to how we know or have a clue of what his economic situation was. He gave back almost all the money of his signing bonus to the 49ers organization. So that right there really proves to you that he didn't need football. That's really what it comes down to. Some players, they need football, or in basketball or whatever sport. Chris Borland didn't need it. He just wanted to play, which nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with that. Football is a sport. At the end of the day, it's a game. If you don't want to play it, you don't have to. Although some players play it because that's the only way out. And obviously in inner cities, education isn't great. I actually come from one of those type of neighborhoods, well, close to it anyway. And education in the city is not great. It's not as good as it is in like suburban areas. And that the only way that these guys have a chance is by athletics or music, or pretty much in the entertainment industry. That's really the only way that these guys really can make it out of this situation. Because the schools really don't teach much about how to, the whole thing about teaching about like how to become self-sufficient economically, that's really taught by parents and family. Unfortunately, schools don't really teach that as much, especially in the inner city, where they don't even teach some of the stuff. Some of the stuff that inner city kids in low-income neighborhoods are taught in the 10th grade is taught by kids in suburban neighborhoods in the 7th grade. So that right there, people in the inner city, in the ghetto, or what the ghetto is what they say, don't have the same educational opportunities, and because of that, they aren't able to get the grades. And also, even if they did get the grades, their parents aren't able to afford the colleges that these guys want to go to unless they play sports. And it seems, a lot of these athletes, they come from these neighborhoods and they are able to get football, basketball scholarships, baseball scholarships, whatever it may be. But it seems like, I don't know what college you went to, but it seems like Borland really didn't need football necessarily. And there's a lot of guys like that, for example, the Mannings. The Mannings, they're the sons of a former football player. and they were economically, set really, but they just decided, to follow in their father's footsteps and pursue playing the NFL. It's like pursuing a dream. And I know a lot of these kids in the quote unquote ghettos, that is also their dream. But their dream, they have a little more motivation to fulfill their dream because they know that if they fulfill their dream, they can give their mother a dream that she always wanted to have, or their family, or be able to provide for the family. A lot, like if their father wasn't there, for example, they could be the father that they never had to their own mother. I'm sorry, I said that wrong, but you get the point. They could be able to provide for their own mom and give them a better life, buying them a new house, new car, and things of that nature. So don't expect this to be something that you're going to see in years to come. See, Patrick Willis is different, however. He was 30. He's a veteran, or was a veteran, played for 10 years in the league. So he was already, and he was an example. He came from a really lower-income area in Tennessee, and he was able to go to Ole Miss and get drafted by the 49ers, and then he became a superstar on defense. He was the next Ray Lewis. In fact, when Ray Lewis retired, he pretty much supplanted him as a top linebacker in the NFL. And him retiring at 30, it's going to be a huge loss, especially if you're a 49ers fan. It's really going to be a big loss. But it's different with him, obviously, like I said, because he was already been in the league. He's already made his money. He's already had tons of success. Don't be surprised if you see him in the Hall of Fame, because he truly was one of the greats. Borland, from what his first season entailed, from what happened in his first season, there could have been a good chance that he could have been on that level at some point in his career. But, who knows? Maybe he could have been, a wash. He could have played for like 3 more years and not done anything, and he probably would have been traded or released or whatever. He probably would have retired then when nobody wanted him. Who knows? So this decision, I'm not going to condemn. A lot of people are condemning it, saying, "Oh, you're ruining the integrity of the NFL or whatever." You know what? These guys, they're humans. They can make their own decisions. If he doesn't want, and also some players just lose the passion for it. And Barry Sanders, that's what he said. He lost passion for it. Nobody knows why or what made him lose passion for it, but he just lost the passion for it. So players can retire. It's not like a rule saying you have to play this many years in order to, be. No, none of that. He wanted to retire, and he made the decision. And he said because of the fear of concussions. Obviously, this is the fallout from the thing with Junior Seau, who was a Hall of Fame linebacker in his own right. He, shot himself in the head because of concussion-related symptoms that he got during his NFL career. Who, by the way, he was also a linebacker. And so I feel like Chris Borland put that into account and decided, you know what, this isn't for me. I'm not willing to take the risks. I don't need the game. I just want the game. If he needed the game, this wouldn't be an option. He'd still be playing, even if he is a linebacker. It wouldn't be different if he was a linebacker or if he was a corner or a quarterback. But he didn't want to play the game anymore because of the risk factor, And some guys are willing to take that risk in order for them to supplant themselves economically, in order to build themselves up economically when there's really no other way. So I'm not going to say this is a good look for the NFL because it's definitely not. However, it's his own decision, and I commend him for it because I know a lot of these young guys would be afraid of doing this because they think, oh, I don't want the older veterans to think that I'm weak or anything like that, But Borland, he was able to make the decision on his own. I don't know if anyone influenced him. I know what might have influenced him. I don't know if any person suggested, I think you should retire. But even if someone did, I'm not going to say it's a wrong decision. I don't know his situation fully, like economically. I don't know what his situation is completely, but all I'm going to say is it's his own decision. If someone influenced him, then so be it. If it was his own decision, so be it. Good for him. I'm not gonna say, like I said before, I'm not gonna say it's a great look for the league, because then a lot of people already have this conception that the NFL is that football's a barbaric sport, and the NFL is a barbaric league, and to some degree they're not wrong. It's very physically demanding, extremely physically demanding, and this really is going to be evidence why people say, oh, football shouldn't. I don't want my child to play football. Look at this, Chris Borland. He was a young man. He was healthy, and he decided to retire because of fear of concussions. That's going to really play into the future of the sport. because a lot of these parents aren't going to let their kids play because of that, and because of that, we might not have as many players as talented as Borland was. He wasn't. I'm not going to say Borland was like the best defender, the rookie defensive player we've seen, but he was pretty good, and it just proves to you it doesn't matter how talented you are, doesn't matter how long you've been in the league. Players have this fear of concussions. Injuries, unfortunately, are a part of the game. That's just the way football is, whether it's on a professional level, high school level, or college level. That's just the way the game. And Chris Borland, I'm sure he was going to suffer injuries in his career. I'd be lying. Anybody would be lying if they said he wasn't going to suffer any injuries. But concussions are a big one, and he really feared that was going to be an ongoing issue. So this whole story really ties into the image that the NFL is trying to keep, as people are going to sit there and say, oh, the NFL, all they care about is money. They're just, money is really what drives them. They don't care about the safety of the players. They don't care about the fans. It's all about the money. And you know what? Who knows what they're thinking? Maybe it is all about the money. But you know what? It's player safety. At least they make it look like it's a priority. I'm not going to say it is, because I don't know what they're thinking. But it might be. It could be a priority. So this obviously, like I said, this ties into the image of the NFL, and we are going to take a quick break, and we're going to get into another topic that has to do with the NFL's image.